I can't believe it's taken me this long to do, but I have finally figured out what my favorite movies of 2024 are. I left it this late because there was a couple of things that I didn't have access to that I did want to check out before I finalized the list. And there's still things I haven't seen, like Amelia Perez, which swept at the Golden Globes. But I'm pretty confident and I'm pretty happy with my picks for this year. And according to Letterboxd, I logged 343 films throughout the year. 154 of them were 2024 releases. And I only got to the cinema 95 times this year. I almost cracked 150 last year in 2023, I believe. But as the ever-changing landscape of having access to movies via screeners for interviews, a lot of things changed in 2024, and I think for the better. I've had a fantastic year, and I thank you all for your support throughout everything I've been doing. But let's get into the nitty-gritty of it all, and I obviously have a couple of honourable mentions to get into before we crack into my favourite 20 films of 2024. And in no particular order, these are the films that are my honourable mentions. So we've got Dura number 2, Immaculate, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, Strange Darling, Love Lies Bleeding, The Seed of the Sacred Fig, Rebel Ridge, Sonic the Hedgehog 3, Nickel Boys, and A Complete Unknown. The top 20, my favorite 20 of the year. And number 20 is A Real Pain, and I just think this is such a beautiful, touching film that feels very self-realized. Jesse Eisenberg's really coming into his own as a filmmaker. And there is a reason Kieran Culkin is a favorite for Best Supporting Actor in the Oscars. Number 19 might be some of the most blockbuster popcorn fun I had at the cinema, and I was shocked that this made my favorite 20, but Twisters. This is a fun as hell movie. And Glenn Powell is a movie star, a bona fide movie star. I just remember walking out of the cinema with a huge smile on my face, completely elated with the amount of fun I had with Twisters. 18 is a movie that's coming out in 2025 here in Australia, but I did get the chance to see it for the junket, and that is a documentary called The Last Journey. This is a beautiful film about a son who is taking his elderly father on a trip through Europe to hopefully reinvigorate his passion for life. It's incredibly funny, it's very charming, and a lot of tears will flow, especially a scene towards the end, which was just one of the most touching things I think I've seen in a movie this year. Number 17 is a movie that came out of nowhere for me, and that is Kneecap. This biographical retelling of an Irish rap group whose main focus in life is to preserve the Irish language and ultimately say fuck you to the monarchy. This was electric, it was incredibly funny, I love the music, so much so that I'm going to see them. They're coming to Brisbane in March, I'm going to see them live. Number 16 is The Wild Robot, a beautiful animated film from DreamWorks, from director Chris Sanders, who did How to Train Your Dragon, so how was this movie not going to be great? A really touching story about parenthood, beautifully animated with really exciting action scenes, and great voice performances, especially Lupita Nyong'o. Number 15 is a film I saw at the Melbourne International Film Festival, and it's finally coming out, and that's Grand Theft Hamlet, which is a movie that is set entirely inside of Grand Theft Auto Online. And it follows two British actors who, during the pandemic, during the lockdowns, try to put on a production of Hamlet within this virtual world. It's hilarious, especially if you sort of get the ins and outs of how Grand Theft Auto Online works and how chaotic it is. But again, it's a really moving story and touching story about how important community is even online and how important it was during the pandemic. Number 14 is Honora, which is probably going to make many people's top lists of the year. Mikey Madison is absolutely electric. I love Sean Baker's films. I love how raw and unapologetic he is with his filmmaking style and the stories he tells. And this is probably his most accessible film, but a hell of a lot of fun. Number 13 is Hitman. Glenn Powell has made the list twice, and deservedly so, because this is one of those performances that is the star-making performance that shows us the range this guy has. It's a bit of a fabricated true story, but it's a very entertaining one at that, and we got a brilliant supporting performance from Audrey Arjona as well. And speaking of Audrey Arjona, she has made the list again with Blink Twice, which was Zoe Kravitz's directorial debut, and a hell of a debut at that. This is a hard to watch film at times. It tackles some pretty intense subject matter, but it's very stylistic. It's got this dark comedy to it, and Channing Tatum is creepy as hell in this film. Number 11 on the list is one of my favorite Hugh Grant performances of all time, maybe apart from Paddington 2, and that's Heretic. I'm a sucker for a religious horror. I'm a sucker for a psychological thriller. It delves into some pretty weird shit by the end, and the way Hugh Grant delivers these epic monologues is truly fantastic viewing. Number 10 is an Australian film and it's an animated film, and it has some of the most gut-wrenching, hilarious, heartwarming, heartbreaking scenes of the year, and that's Memoir of a Snail. Adam Elliott is a genius. This is a masterpiece of a film. It's in stop motion, but the world that he builds and the characters he builds are so rich. And the amount of work that would have gone into this is absolutely insane. Number 9 is a movie that is genuinely monumental in every regard, and that's The Brutalist. It's a 3.5-hour drama about the immigrant experience to America, about a man who's sort of trapped in the idea of the American dream, and it is epic. Adrian Brody is brilliant in the film. Brady Corbett has such an audacious directing style. It is a monumental film. It is epic in every sense of the word. Number 8 is Longlegs. Hail Satan. One of my favorite endings of the year. Nicolas Cage can do no wrong in my eyes. This was a genuinely creepy film. That was a really entertaining time. Number 7 is Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. George Miller creates some of the most exciting action scenes. Genuinely another one that feels so epic. It's grand. It's telling a decades-long story. And yet there were still elements of it that I want explored further. And the fact that Chris Hemsworth is not getting talked about in award season for playing one of the year's best villains is truly a travesty. Number 6 was probably the most seen I felt in a cinema. I was 13 in 2008, which is when this movie is set and which is the age of our protagonist, and that's Dee Dee. My Space and Meat Spin, you had me there. Sean Wang's film is a beautiful coming-of-age film, which again, I'm a sucker for that genre. This just feels raw, and it feels authentic, and it feels intimate, but it never took away from the fact that I was pissing myself laughing throughout this movie. Number 5 is probably the cinematic event of the year for many people, and that's Dune Part 2. When I initially saw the first Dune film, I liked it, but I didn't love it. I feel like it was number 20 in my 20 films for 2021. The Dune Part 2, which I saw twice at the cinema, action-packed. It's got a great story. Amazing performances. It feels epic. It's grand in scale. Denis Villeneuve is one of the best directors working today, and he absolutely deserved a spot on this list. Number 4 was another one of those movies when I walked out of it, I literally was like, this might be my favorite movie of the year. And that was back in April. Challenges. My God, sexy, sure. It's a sexy movie, but I love the fact that this was like a romantic comedy without really pushing the fact that it's a comedy. It's hilarious. This movie is so funny. And the final tennis match of this movie was like, I felt like I was outside of my own body watching this film. What an experience that was. Brilliant performances from everyone in that film. An incredible direction and a great score as well. The score in that film is amazing. The top 3, man, number 2 and 3 were interchangeable for me on this list because I love these movies so dearly. Number 3 is Better Man, the Robbie Williams biopic in which Robbie Williams is played by a CGI monkey with a brilliant capture performance from Jono Davies. As someone who was a fan of Robbie Williams before going into this film, I love the way his songs were recontextualized for this film to tell the story of his life. And it was so interesting to watch that portrayed by director Michael Gracie. Number 2 on the list is Nosferatu. I am a Robert Eggers head, and Nosferatu, I believe, is truly his masterpiece. On a technical level, this movie is astounding. The sound is incredible. The cinematography is amazing. The scene where Nicholas Holt's character rocks up to Count Orlok's castle for the first time was like an ethereal nightmare. And then you've got the transformative performance of Bill Skarsgård and the exhausting performance, and that's complimentary, of Lily Rose Depp. But there was only one film where, as soon as I did walk out, I was like, that's the best cinema experience I've had for the year. It's the most fun, it's the most shocked, it's the most entertained, and that's The Substance. This movie is wild, and it's the reason I love movies. This movie has everything that I love. It is a batshit crazy premise that actually has something to say, has commentary on society, but does it in a satirical way, so it's also kind of funny and absurd. Demi Moore is brilliant. Margaret Qualley is brilliant. Dennis Quaid is brilliant. Coralie Fajar's screenplay is great, but her stylistic approach to the direction is phenomenal. I am trying to get as many people as I can to watch The Substance. It's not up everyone's alley. It is kind of a body horror film, but fuck me, I love this movie. And there we have it. That is my 20 favorite films, plus some honorable mentions in there for 2024. It was a great year for movies. As a movie fan, as a reviewer, as an interviewer, this was such an exciting year. I got to talk to many people involved with the movies that we got to talk about. And thank you to all for supporting me throughout the year, my reviews and my interviews and the podcasts, and now these videos. I really love you all and I really appreciate it. Next week, I'm going to go through all my interviews for 2024 and pick out a few that really stood out to me, some that were really special to me. Until next time, thanks.